college basketball season. Programs all over the country have had to adjust and do things a little differently. And we're certainly, part of that crew. And, we've had 30 practices together. And, our administration has done a tremendous job of putting these guys in a position to be able to just get out here and play this game. Father Malachi, our AD, James Downer, and all the people that have gotten us to this point to be able to compete against another opponent, someone with a different colored jersey. Because for the last 30 practices, and as a coach, I really didn't know what we had. I knew we had some kids that cared about each other. I knew we had some kids that loved playing basketball, but with so many kids that haven't had a chance to perform in a college basketball game, as a staff, we just weren't sure what to expect. But our staff, our coaching staff, did a great job getting these guys prepared. I thought our young kids did a great job for their first college game. I thought our older kids really carried us, Miles and Ramir, with their leadership. And it's one game certainly that we'll be able to use later in the year. Last year we had a game against Richmond where we were down or up big, and they came back and beat us. And I told the guys in the locker room, those returning guys, and I think that was a big help, and it was a big factor in us winning after Pitt made that run. Those older guys responded. Miles and Ramir and Mark, I thought they did a tremendous job of keeping us level-headed. And certainly, a great win. But I told the guys now, you make a statement and come in and compete against a very good basketball team, and now you got to come to work tomorrow. So it's Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for, certainly, to be able to come out and compete. We got to get back to work and get ready for our next opponent.
Questions for Coach?
Rob, it's Corey. Congratulations, Rob. This is not just any win. I know you got a lot of season left, but this is Pitt. This is a Power 5 team. How do you put into words what this means to you as a St. Francis lifer, and to all the work that St. Francis has done for decades to win a game like this?
I have two sides of that, Corey. That's a great question. I grew up in State College with a family that worked at Penn State. So, the Pitt-Penn State rivalry was a part of my childhood. And having a father that was in athletics, certainly something that I lived, whether it be in the swimming pool or the football field. And then I came to St. Francis, and it was a team that we played every year. And at the time, it was a 3-for-1 or a 2-for-1, and they'd come to our place every couple of years. And so it's a game that I actually played in. We drove past the old field house where Eric and I competed, and a team that we played regularly, especially throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s. So on two sides of it, growing up in State College, and then certainly as a St. Francis player and as a coach, it's a trip that's an hour and a half, 2 hours down the road, and certainly a lot of fans and alums, in this area. So it's a special one. It's something I know our guys will enjoy, and anytime you can come in and compete and play with the Power 5, it's a credit to those guys that put the uniform on.
If I say to you that this is your biggest win in more than 40 years, can you even wrap your mind around that, or do you just have to prepare for the next game?
It's coach speak, Corey. We have to worry about feeding 30 kids Thanksgiving dinner. So God bless my parents and my wife and all the people. I got to go home and set up tables, and that's a little different experience now. And how we're going to eat Thanksgiving meal. So I think I'm so distracted by that, and then having to get ready for another opponent. Listen, we're going to enjoy this on the bus ride home. It's a game obviously that means personally. Growing up in State College, as I said, Pitt and the reputation that Pitt athletics and Pitt basketball, it is a big win, Corey. And at some point it'll sink in, but I know that we got to get ready to play UMBC on Saturday.
You talked a little bit about Ramir's leadership. What about some of the younger guys and what they were able to do tonight also?
Yeah, I thought Ramir's leadership, as a big brother, allowed those younger kids to just be able to compete and play basketball. I think so many times when you have to rely on young kids to play, they're going to make mistakes, and then they're going to, do some things that, you need to clean up. But having Ramir on the court to control those guys and Miles, that was huge. Those two kids as big brothers. Now as those younger kids, they can kind of play fearless. They don't have to worry about trying to be perfect. And I thought that, the guards especially, Max, Rennell, and Zah Reed did a tremendous job against their pressure. And then, Jariah, the big fella, the other freshman.
You guys hear me? All right.
Minutes against,
First of all,
against a very physical, big team. And those are minutes that he'll be able to build on and get better as we move forward.
Rob, you've been in these situations. You beat Rutgers. I believe you're up at the half at UCLA. You're down 4 in the closing minutes at Marquette. You played a great second half at Carolina. You mentioned Richmond. How much does all of those I know you don't have Keith and Isaiah anymore, but your program has not shied away from these big situations. How much does all of that help? And maybe to the outside world, this is stunning, but did you feel like you would go in and give this kind of performance tonight?
I had no idea, Corey. I knew in practice we looked good, but after playing against yourself for 30 practices, I think you start to, question some things, or you feel really good about some stuff, but you never know until you go into competition. But I think those big games that these other kids have played in, Corey, you bring up a great point that they've been in those games. Whether they've played a lot, but they've been in those environments, and it's something that we're going to continue to do for a couple of reasons. Number one, we need to be ready for February and March, and we want to win every game that's on our schedule. We also have to put our guys in some situations that, they got to get ready to play in February and March, and that's important. The other thing from a recruiting standpoint, these kids that come to St. Francis, they want to play against the top programs in the country. Obviously there's a financial obligation to it, as a smaller school and a program that's got to raise some money. That's a part to it too. But these kids, when they put their shoes on and when they watch TV growing up, they want to play against those programs. And as a coach, we've got to be able to measure ourselves against some of those programs also. So it serves a lot of purposes, and it's just you go into a game and you have to play really well to put yourself in a position to win. And these guys have been in some of those moments. We've lost some leads and we played well in some situations, but this is certainly one that we'll be able to build on. And now we have an X on our back. And then I told the guys, I like those. I like that pressure. You can't, just because you beat Pitt doesn't mean that you're going to show up and everybody's just going to, let St. Francis come in and win the game. We have to prepare with a little bit of a different sense of urgency. And you can talk about that as a coach all you want, but they have to experience that to understand now, hey, listen, we got to come to practice tomorrow and Friday to get ready for a really good UMBC team.
Hey, Coach, it's Peter Terpstra from WTAJ. How much was this start to the season kind of a result of handling the challenges of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we tried to do with our guys at the beginning when it all happened is, and I'll give, our leadership at St. Francis all of the credit. They allowed me and the staff to just coach basketball. And they took a lot of the decision-making out of it. We could coach our kids, and we asked them to be flexible. We asked them to be disciplined. We asked them to do some things. And these college kids, Peter, they're the ones that are making so many sacrifices. It's just, I have to wear, and I've said it before, I have to wear a mask. And there's some things that I do differently. But these kids they're not only just sacrificing in what they're doing on the court, but in the classroom and in the dorm room. The reward today was for them to be able to come out and compete. And I think that the challenges of each day and coaching, again, I've said it many times, it's very cliche. It's day to day. At this point, maybe it'd even be hour to hour. But I think in the long run, Peter, it's something that these guys, again, they're going to be able to draw on through, a very tough, unknown situation. They're going to be able to pull from this 10 years from now, because they're going to be in some tough situations. They're going to be in some pressure situations. And throughout this, 2-month period where we've been able to practice, we've had moments where we've had to make some changes and we've had to do things on the fly. We drove down here the day of. The guys had finals today. It was a very different experience for those guys that have competed. So, those are moments that, you just ask the guys to give their best effort. I thought our guys did that tonight.
Hey, Rob, one more for me. I know we've had 30 conversations about this, so I hate to condense it all into one. But how have you gotten St. Francis from where it was to where we are right now that we're talking about a win over Pitt?
Some of it's luck, Corey. Some of it is I'm so fortunate to have a great staff. I can't be everywhere, and I can't make every decision all the time. And to have not just the GAs, Andy and Ronnie, those two guys. Luke McConnell, our director of operations, whose dad was my college coach. And then to have Eric, who I played with, Umar, who I coached, and then Andy Helton, who recruited me, as people that I go to work with every day. they know what it takes to be successful at St. Francis because they've either worked there or they've graduated from the school, and that's so important to just recruiting anywhere. You've got to find kids and people that fit wherever you are. And those guys, they're great basketball minds. They're passionate about St. Francis, but at the end of the day, they're great people. And I think as you start to build on some of those things, you earn the trust of the kids, and they see success stories. A kid like Earl Brown, and then Ronnie Drennan, and guys that are in the program. You see them continue to grow and develop. And that's something that we're big on is development, not just on the court, but we want to develop great relationships with these kids. Because in any walk of life, when you develop those relationships and there's a trust, you could accomplish a lot more than if it's just, hey, I want you to come here so we can win basketball games. I want them to come here to win basketball games, but I want them to come here to be great students and great people. And I think that formula over the course of the last couple of years has allowed us to be lucky at times, but to develop something deeper than just winning a basketball game. And those kids go out and they play for each other. They see Eric and I relate. Eric, I've told this before, and I don't know why I'm sharing that, but Eric introduced me to my wife. He's family. So when they see two of us interact like that, that's what I want for them. I want them to go 20 years down the road and come back and talk about a game that they played, or being able to go travel overseas, or just going to the dining hall and eating ice cream. Those are the things that we want for our kids. And I'm fortunate to have a staff that embraces that and developing young men.
Hey, Rob, congratulations. A great win. Ramir's poise, you got to have a lot of things go right to win a game like this. And I thought the poise, Ramir, Miles, Mark, and you expect that from the older guys, but your young guys, Land was in there, and he just seemed comfortable. Rennell seemed comfortable attacking the hoop. Were you at all surprised at the level of poise and just embracing the moment that those guys demonstrated tonight, the younger guys?
I think not because of what type of player they are. I knew they were talented kids, and I knew that they came from winning programs, and I knew that they were going to add value. It was just with all they had to go through in the 30 practices leading up to it, and not competing against anybody, and then playing on a national stage. That was the part that I didn't know how they'd respond. But the one thing that, Pat, is evident is that our older guys have done a great job of reaching down and helping the younger kids. Because one of my concerns without a summer, Pat, that's where you build that camaraderie and that chemistry. And again, I've talked about those two, but as leaders, they've done a great job of reaching down and helping those young kids. And at the same time, those young kids have done a great job of reaching up and asking for help. I didn't want a division, because it very easily could have been that way. The older guys who were trying to put a mark on the program, who in previous years had been more of a role situation for them with Keith and Jamal and Isaiah and those guys. And then some young guys who want to come in and be the next Keith and Jamal and Isaiah, right? So it's been a neat experience to see how the team has come together, and the older guys leading and the younger guys just playing fearless. That it's like that older brother syndrome. When you walk onto the playground and you have an older brother, you know that you can get away with anything, right? And you can play fearless.
All right, if that's all we got for Rob, Rob is good. Do we have Ramir? Can we see if we can get Ramir?
Yeah, I can go find him. Sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.